Rough financial seas are ahead, but how do you batten down the hatches without becoming anxious?
Hope and I understand that there's a lot of varying opinions out there as to whether we're in a recession or not. That isn't so important. What is important is that you prepare like we are in a recession.
Here's one thing that we do know, though. We do know that people are hurting. We know prices are rising, and we really believe that some of our priorities must change.
In this video, we're going to present 4 different strategies for coping with the financial conditions that we find ourselves in.
And each suggestion comes with its own set of sub-suggestions.
Sub-suggestions? Is that even a word?
It is now. Sub-suggestions. I made it up. It is now a new word. And yes, you may use it. Basically, we have 4 large areas we're going to talk about. Underneath each of those areas, we've got a whole lot of minor suggestions that we can give you. Basically, in the next 10, 15 minutes, you're going to get a whole lot of tips and strategies.
This is just going to be kind of an open discussion. So what you're going to be doing is kind of sitting in while Hope and I discuss the topic, but we want you to participate. Comment in the comment area and give us some of your suggestions or your reactions.
In case you don't know us, I'm Hope.
And I'm Larry.
And this is Under the Median, where every week we talk about practical frugality. Let's delve into this recession and how we can get through it easier. Step number 1.
Gather information from a variety of sources. You know, there is a lot of information out there. In fact, we're presented with more information than people have ever in the whole history of information. So you have to be able to learn how to kind of vet out what is relevant, what's important, and what's accurate.
Basically, you need to figure out who you're going to listen to. Let me give you a really quick example. During the pandemic of 2020, there was so much information available, and much of it was contradictory. I found that after a while, I really had to limit myself to a certain number of sources every day that I was able to listen to. Just the glut of information. It was too much for me. What we really want you to do is just avoid getting so much information that you decide that you're going to do nothing, because above all, you need to figure out a game plan for your family to help you get through the next few months or maybe even the next few years.
So we would encourage you to read. Go online and find some good, solid, reputable sources and read. On YouTube, there's a lot of good channels that you can follow that have good, solid, reputable information. You don't want to get too much information. You know, our dog, Shelby, one time we gave her 2 toys to play with, 2 new toys. It actually confused her. She didn't know which toy to go to. And it would have been better off if we had just given her 1. We thought we were just going to be doing her a favor. And it can be like that with information overload. We can just get too much in to the point where we're paralyzed, like Shelby was with the 2 dog toys.
Once you choose the sources of information that you're going to really hone in and pay attention to each week, it's really important to understand something else really important. You don't need to agree with every single thing that those people have to say. We would assume that there are some things that we say that y'all are like, I don't think so, or I can't go there, or I really don't want to do that. We're okay with that. We're perfectly okay with that. But one of the things you have to understand that not everybody knows everything. So it's important to make sure when you're vetting those sources you'll listen to, that those sources come from slightly different points of view. Let me give you an example. We regularly follow an economist. We subscribe to his weekly newsletter. So there's a professional economist that we're reading everything he has to say right now about the recession or whether we're even in a recession or not. You guys know, if you've watched for any length of time, that there are some prepper channels that we watch on YouTube. Not all of those prepper channels have the same thing to say about how, when, and where to prep. And we're okay with that. A lot of information is okay as long as you're able to basically do what we told our boys, to eat the meat, spit out the bones. In other words, figure out what's super important to you and do those things. And the other things, just lay them to the side, and that's okay.
I'd like to give you a couple tips that we use for vetting some of the information that we follow. Is it accurate? Go back a few months into maybe their archives of articles. Are they presenting things that just don't happen, never are going to occur, or they're just way out there? Are they presenting things that are just producing fear and angst and are not supplying a solution? If they're giving you just a whole bunch of things to worry about, don't follow them. They're not being productive. You want good, productive information. What should I do now to prepare? That's the kind of things that we look for.
And when you get done listening to them, how do you feel? Do you feel encouraged? Do you feel empowered? Do you feel enlightened? If you feel those things, it's a really good sign that that's the person that you should continue following. Second thing you really want to do when you are preparing for the upcoming recession or the recession, if you feel like we're already in the recession, is to get your finances in order. Look, this is a financial channel. You guys knew it was coming, right? You knew this channel is all about how to spend less and save more money. So you knew we were just going to have to stick in there. Get your finances in order. If you are in debt, pay off that debt.
That's key right there. That's the first thing you should do. Yeah.
That is the one thing that is going to give you more flexibility moving forward. And we've talked about it a lot on this channel, how really critical that flexibility is right now. And in the area of flexibility, we really feel like you need to get ready to maybe go ahead and try some strategies you've never tried before and see how they work for you.
And if you're not sure how to get on the road or how to get started, find some good financial advisors or advisor. But get some help. There's a lot of good sources out there like Dave Ramsey, who gives a lot of really good specific information on how to start budgeting. But start somewhere. If your finances are not in order, get them in order.
Here's a question that we really want you to consider. Have you ever thought about the fact that getting through the recession has to do with thinking like the Depression, as in the Great Depression? I have never in my life heard so many people referring back to, well, we need to bring back, what they did. What did they do to get through the Great Depression? You think about what your parents or your grandparents, or for some of you, your great-grandparents did to get through the Great Depression, because they did get through it and they did get to the other side. But what are those skills that you really need to think about right now?
Another thing that goes kind of along with that is embrace simplicity. Yeah. Simplify your life. Start to do things that don't cost a lot of money. We've talked about that over and over again on this channel, but simplicity really is the key to getting through.
If you want to go more in depth with us and you want kind of our game plan for how we organize our personal finances, we have a personal finance planner ebook. There'll be a link to that ebook in the description of the video.
And while we're talking about things that you can do, if you're enjoying this video and you find it informative and helpful, give it a like. And if you've never subscribed to our channel, we would love to have you a part of our frugal family.
Tip number 3, and you probably knew this was coming too, create lists. What kind of lists? Prioritized lists. My favorite word, because the most important things go at the top of any list that you make. Here are some ideas of some lists we think you might want to keep in mind.
Of course, you'll want to have short, medium, and long-term goals. When you have these 3 types of goals on your list, it gives you an idea of where you're headed and how you're going to get there.
Another couple of lists you might want to have on hand are prepping lists. Now, these will be things that perhaps are not edible, that you really think it's important to have on hand in your home right now. And I don't mean just toilet paper. There are a whole lot of other non-food items that are important for you to have right now. In fact, we did a video on it. We gave 60 different non-food items you might want to keep on hand right now. We'll make sure that video is listed up above and in the description of this video. But food items as well. Pantry, you want to make sure that your pantry is fully stocked.
It's always good to have the pantry full of food that keeps on the shelf, that you don't have to keep refrigerated or keep in a freezer. Long-term storage. That's really always good for good backup.
And food that your family actually likes and enjoys and will eat. That's always one of the tips that we have to give is don't fill your pantry with stuff that you're like, well, if it's an emergency, I'm going to eat those black beans, but I really hate them. You probably won't. Don't stock black beans in your pantry if you hate them.
Yeah, and once you get your pantry organized, you'll want to make a list of what you have. So you have at your fingertips what you have on hand and where it is.
Couple of unusual lists that we keep. We call one list our what if list. Now, we mentioned this in a video a while back. Our what if list is a list that we keep of items that are going up in price. They're inflating right now. What if? For instance, what if gas is $5 a gallon? What if gas goes to $8 a gallon? And what if gas goes to $10 a gallon? Will that probably happen? Well, I hope not. But the point we're trying to make is it's really good to look forward to the trajectory that items are going on and think, all right, I need a game plan. I need to know that if gas goes to $10 a gallon, that I have a game plan, that I have some ideas that I can immediately put in place, because that takes the fear out of the equation when you think, I've already thought through this.
Yeah, once you've made a plan, then you can rest easy knowing, hey, if that happens, I got a way to deal with it. And it's good to think about them before it happens. You know, storms come. We live in the Midwest. We have tornadoes here where we live in the Midwest area. And once in a while, you'll hear on the weather report that a major storm is coming in, wind gusts of 65 miles an hour, possible 1-inch hail, that kind of thing. Well, they're not putting that information out there to make you afraid.
Right.
They're putting that information out there to get you prepared for it. You might not want to be doing a lot of outdoor activity that day, like me going on a 40-mile bike ride. That's probably not a good day to do that. So you want to be able to have some things on hand, maybe if the power goes out during that storm. But the whole idea is once you get that piece of information, what are you going to do about it?
Our goal on this channel is always to help you think through things before they occur so that you feel like you are adequately prepared.
And that engenders confidence. Another list you might consider is an instead of list. For instance, if I can't get this item at the store, what am I going to do instead? What item am I going to substitute for that? If I can't get white flour, what works in place of white flour? What works in place of bread? Can you make
eggs.
your own?
What works in case of eggs?
Yeah. Hope has a way of making an egg substitute recipe, and I think it has to do with flax, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
All right, I get the prize. But the point is, it's good to just think about what happens if some of the shelves are bare. Now, right now, I think things are going pretty good on the shelves, so we're not facing that. But when we were kind of going through that in 2020, we were thinking about, okay, what if we run out of toilet paper? What can we use instead? There are ways to deal with that, and what happens if we can't get this or that? Most of the time, you can find plan B and make it work.
That really is. That sort of encompasses what the what if list is. It's plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D. And it's okay to have all of those thought through and definitely written down before the need arises that you need to use the list.
So it all boils down to these things. Find good, reliable sources that you can trust.
Focus on what you can control and not what you cannot control.
Be willing to try out new things, maybe do a new path, maybe charting a new path down a place you've never gone before because the old paths no longer work.
And be sure to create a game plan so you know exactly what it is that you are going to focus on next. Our goal is always to help you think through situations before they occur so that you are adequately...
Is that a word? Adequately. That's if you have a big attic.
You can get more in-depth ideas and inspiration and resources from us on how to save money. Yes, even during a recession. There's a video right over there on your screen.